All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Medium Cool Show. Today, we travel to the city of Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Because today, we're discussing the 1989 independent drama film, Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
How do you like being married?
Well, you know the cliche about the security of it. Well, that's true. Are you having an affair?
Written and directed by the one and only Steven Soderbergh. Starring Andie MacDowell, Peter Gallagher, James Spader, and Laura San Giacomo.
Yes, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was interesting because we've been listening to the audiobook of Down and Dirty Pictures, and that just really made me, I'd never seen it before, but I really wanted to see it after learning about the independent cinema movement, and this was kind of the trailblazer, kind of what kickstarted that whole thing, because this is one of the first hits that Miramax distributed and bought, and that kind of started their whole rep of being the quintessential indie 90s studio house.
Also, one thing they talk about too is so half the book's about Miramax, right? And then the other half is about Sundance with Robert Redford. And this is also the first movie that really put Sundance on the map too.
Yeah.
Where they kind of blew up from Steven Soderbergh's success, and this won the Palme d'Or in Cannes that year. And it's just a phenomenal film. I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
And I can see how he became the face of independent cinema in the early 90s at least, because this film is everything you want on a shoestring budget, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was shot on $1 million, $1.1, fucking 1.1 mil. And we all hear about the story, everyone knows the story though. Steven Soderbergh was the youngest to win the Palme d'Or, for his debut feature, and he was 26 years old. But there's a whole other side to this movie, historically. I feel I haven't heard about. I didn't know about it was when Harvey Weinstein met Steven Soderbergh,
Yeah.
and his trip to Sundance and bringing the film with him, and no one had seen it before, and just that whole story is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Other than just knowing about the other history that everyone talks about, a really young fucking director making a really great film, which it is. It's a really great film. This might be his best, one of his best. This and Ocean's 11 that I've seen at least.
Yeah, I love Steven Soderbergh. Sometimes he comes out with really sleeper hits, Logan Lucky. I love that, and then you Unsane. And we just talked about him. He's a director that's made so much in his lifetime. He's made 40-something movies. And he's definitely what do you call it when someone gets to this age? They're a journeyman as a director. And, this movie started it all. And I really had to see, what everyone was talking about, because they talked about it so much in the book. It really is, this era's Bonnie and Clyde, with Warren Beatty kind of leading the charge of the independent 70s movement. This is kind of Steven Soderbergh was the figurehead of the early 90s independent cinema. Goddamn, is this movie really good though?
Yeah, it's surprisingly well made for how low budge everyone says it is, but it's so well produced for what it is. It's very it does feel like a real Hollywood movie.
Yeah, it does.
But it's a drama, and it kind of has almost your typical genre affair movie, but then he does his own little twist on it. That makes it really unique. And I was very much into it. At first, you kind of have to get into it. It's a little slow, but then you really get into the characters and their predicaments and stuff. And that Andie MacDowell is going to eventually find out about the affair. It's going to be exposed, because they all go so deep into their their issues and shit.
Yeah.
And no, I was just really into the movie. I wasn't even thinking about the filmmaking. Now looking back, I can think about it more. The way that the film is constructed. But when I was watching the movie, I was just so into the acting is so good that I really believed in the characters.
Yeah, the acting is phenomenal in this movie. I really was impressed by James Spader, for one.
James Spader's really good.
Yeah, he's amazing in this. And then just everyone in the ensemble is great. The story is really interesting too, because when I hear, even reading the book, like hearing the title, like Sex, Lies, and Videotapes, like it doesn't really make sense until you see the movie where you're like, oh, I understand like the significance of all this, you know, in the movie. And I just love like the commentary they have, where it's kind of, you know, Steven Soderbergh claims to have like drawn a lot from his real life to make this film and for the characters. And he said that he can see himself in every single one of the characters because he's been in that place before where he's been like the person cheating, and he's been the one cheating with someone, and then he's been the one that's like doesn't want to even like have anything to do with sex, and then he's been the one where it's like he's like actually forcing himself to try to get better, you know. I thought that was really, really interesting how he's able to like nail these characters so well, where they're all so believable and they're able to like intersect with one another in such like a seamless way, even though ideologically they may seem like very set in their ways, you know.
Yeah, it's a very mature movie to be made like when you're like 25. Like I wouldn't be able to like write something like that. This is like someone who's like at least like in their 30s, 40s maybe, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to write this now. Like this is like so ahead of his time, and like just shows the brilliance of Steven Soderbergh as a writer and a director, you know?
Yeah, and definitely the time, space, and memory elements of the film are really cool too. How it's like shifting from like video, like it's just like he uses video in a way to like go back in time and tell like a different side of the story. It's kind of like a little non-linear, especially in the end there. That was really, really fucking good there.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I love that ending where it cuts to what they filmed on the videotape, but it doesn't show you the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know? That was like really interesting. They really took their time at that last scene. I feel like it was definitely the emotional payoff we needed as the audience. To be like, okay, we're diving into this more. And like, this is like, oh, dude, it was so good. Just, yeah, I was really, really impressed by this film. And I gave it like 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd because, I don't know, I would definitely recommend this to people.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there's two really, like, everyone, I guess, is horny in a different way in this film.
Yeah.
Like, James Spader is really horny, but he's omnipotent. But he's still, like, really horny and kind of has, like, these really weird fetishes and stuff. And then you have Peter Gallagher, the husband of Andie MacDowell, who's really, really fucking horny. And he's not getting that from home because Andie MacDowell is totally not. Like, she's, like, sexless as well. Like, she's kind of omnipotent as well. Like, she can't get, like, turned on anymore.
Yeah.
And then we have Lauren San Giacomo, who's really horny and definitely, like, oversexed, who's having the affair.
Yeah, but she's, like, very liberated with her, like, sexuality, whereas, like, Andie MacDowell's, like, has a very idyllic life, but she's so closed off to new things, you know? And it is very interesting how it's, like, a circle, how, like, their problems, like she says in the movie, like, their problems start to affect each other. You know? Mm-hmm. Like you're pointing out, like, she's so turned off by, like, her husband because she can feel him having an affair, but he's, like, really turned off that she doesn't want to have sex, you know? And I think that's, like, really interesting. The writing is so good, too. I love the quote they use where they, like, what is it? He says, like, men learn to fall in love with people they're attracted to, and women
are attracted to the people they fall in love with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then James Spader, like, his thing is that he films women talking about sex, and that he gets turned on by that, and then he can't get hard with someone physically present, but he like jerks off to the videos probably.
I don't know. It never explicitly says he jerks off, but like he definitely like feels like he gets like that like sexual drive when he watches those films and stuff, and someone just like, I don't know, sharing. But also it's like, you know, Steven Soderbergh says that like the cameras, the videotapes are like representative of like the space we keep between each other. Like he can't get close to someone. He's not allowing himself to get close to someone. The only way he can get close to them is if like he has that space in between. I mean, it's a great film. One thing I wanted to mention to you, I don't know if you knew this, but like Steven Soderbergh had a lot of different titles that he wanted for the film.
Yeah.
And one of the titles was like 445.27 or something like that. It was supposed to be representative of the videotape at the end that they shoot.
Yeah, but I think Harvey Weinstein came up with Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
No. But he was definitely like, oh, fuck, we gotta get this movie. It says sex in the title.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I knew that he was involved with the title somehow.
Yeah, no, but he didn't come up with the title. Steven Soderbergh did.
But this movie like pretty much made history and started off the kick of the '90s independent cinema movement, which is probably like the second best era besides like the new Hollywood era.
Yeah, seriously.
And yeah, Sex Lies and Videotape